Thanks for coming, everybody. We do have a performance today, but before we get to that, I would love to have a motion to approve the order of agenda.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, so passed. And then, again, if I could get another motion for the approval of the minutes from June.
So moved.
And second,
Second.
any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody's opposed. We want to get to the good stuff right here. Okay, I would like to introduce our performance tonight is from the FM Ballet. And here with the FM Ballet is Lacey Casper, who's going to give us a quick little synopsis of the performance. And performing today is Dylan Johnson.
Hi. So this summer we were granted a public arts grant that we used for our first ever Fargo Moorhead ballet intensive. We had dancers from all over the area and beyond the area that joined the program, and we did a public performance at Sherwood Park North. And that was a free performance, and it's nice to know that you're able to do that this year, so we appreciate it. And Dylan is actually one of our company dancers, and she also was a part of that program this summer, so she was able to perform in that event. So she will be performing today, and our season actually begins, we have auditions next week, but our season actually begins October is our first show. We do Spooky Ballet, we have Nutcracker in December, and we end our season with Cinderella this year. So we're really excited about our great season ahead. And today Dylan will be performing a piece that was choreographed by our artistic director, Matt Gasper.
Special for us.
Yes, just special for you guys. He choreographed it just for you guys.
Madam Chair, if I could ask, I'm going to stand so I can see better.
Oh, by
if
all
anyone
means.
else does.
Let's all stand. Wow. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you very much, Lacey.
Thank you guys.
Oh, isn't this about the best commission in the city?
We're the luckiest commission. What a great way to start the
Yeah.
evening, let alone meeting.
Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And she's hardly breathing hard. I'm amazed.
I'm so going to yoga after this,
It's kind of like having our own Dancing with the Stars.
right? Yeah, yeah, very impressive.
Are you guys the
Thank you.
judges, or-
Yeah, well, I will give you a plug. I've been to the last couple of productions that the FM Ballet has done in the spring. I went to Aladdin and I went to The Wizard of Oz, and both of them were incredible. incredible. So when it's coming up in the spring, make sure you put it on your calendars. Well worth the ticket.
Thank you.
Well worth
Thank
it,
you, ladies.
yes.
What a
Thank you.
treat.
Yep. Okay, now we have to get to business. In your packet, you will have seen and I hope reviewed a restructured proposal for fall grant round call to artists for the public art projects. This is a project that I took on with the help of Megan and Nicole. Also, with the help of Emily Wheeler to get the perspective of an artist. I felt like there was a way that we could increase our respondents. We didn't get very many respondents in the spring, and after looking at the proposal or the application, I thought there was room for improvement. I pulled a lot of components from, basically I cherry-picked from around the country and pulled it all together. What I would like today is feedback, and also the grant round is opening next month. And so I would like to, even if this is incomplete, we will probably be revising this thing every 6 months, every time we use it. But I would ultimately like, unless there's some really horrible things, I would really like a motion to use this application. And also, I would like to change the name. As you probably know, it was referred to as Creative Capital Sponsorship. Yeah. And I would like to change it to something that more clearly reflects what it is, such as Call for Artists for Public Art for the City of Fargo. So, first, let's open up the floor, please, or, to feedback. Anybody have any, anything they would like to remark on, maybe see changed?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I was looking to see if I could find the vision or the purpose statement that we have come up with in the past. Is
Okay.
that what is reflected in that first paragraph?
Purpose, I think, is the second paragraph. Isn't that lining up
Says
with our,
purpose.
is that not lining up with our purpose?
No,
think
I was
I'm-
just wondering, to make everything consistent,
Yeah,
make sure that it's the purpose or the vision statement that we originally came up with, and I couldn't find that anywhere,
okay,
just so there's consistency.
thank you.
And then just the other thing, can we send just editing issues to you?
Yes,
Okay.
yep,
So is the purpose and mission statement in the Master Arts Plan?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. Public Arts Master Plan, yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you, Arlette.
So you don't have the mission statement on here right now, so would you be adding that?
Yes, we would, the purpose would reflect the purpose that we have set out as a commission, and then it never hurts to have the mission statement, obviously, yeah.
Yep.
That helps them with their answers, I think.
I think so too. I agree.
The only other thing that I see that might be missing is, and because we're on the evaluation committee,
Yeah.
wondering if there is some kind of accountability for the artist to do some kind of feedback, whether, it's tough when it's a visual arts thing that gets put out there, but we had talked about starting to collect
Some kind of
like
data.
attendance and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
How would the success be measured?
Yeah,
And maybe the artist would suggest it based on
Yeah.
their medium? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea. How would success be measured?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
simple question like that.
Yeah,
And then what do you base the selection on? Do you have criteria for that? Which then could play into the evaluation?
no, the selection criteria isn't set. And because it's pretty open, we will have a rubric, or we have a rubric. And we would, I think we talked that we were going to attach that rubric to this packet, right? Or to the application?
That would be great
Or
to
no?
do that.
They know how it's being judged.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what the selection panel uses to work through the process.
Is that something you could pass by the evaluation committee or people
Sure.
in charge of evaluation?
Yep.
Okay, just to take a peek at it.
Yeah. And then the selection committee is pretty much selected based on what comes in. You know, like if it's mostly visual art, then we would, you know, we have a large pool of people to select from, then we would select visual artists, you know, and depending on, and if it was, like last time, FM Ballet had submitted an application, so we had somebody with performance arts sitting on the selection committee. So we try to form that selection committee based on what's been submitted, so that we have the most, at least initially, we have the most expertise in the room we can get.
How many applications did we have last year?
Last time, okay,
Last
it
time.
was 6 months ago, 4. And I think part of that was because it was difficult to find this application. And I say that because I had the pleasure of sitting on the selection group for the new art that's going on the benches and the utility boxes downtown. And they must have had, I think it was over 100 applications. It was a huge amount, and it was such good stuff. And I thought, oh my goodness, we need to be able to tap into this a little more completely. So I'm hoping that this is at least one step in that direction, where we can get a bigger response.
Is that when we increased our base to broaden it to a lot of different organizations? I mean, is that when we got 100 people or submissions?
It wasn't us. It wasn't us that got that response. That was not the city. That was the Arts Partnership, or the Arts Partnership.
Then
Yeah.
how do we get the word out about this one? Is it the same?
Well, we do send it out to the Arts Partnership, and they do send it out. It was difficult to find on the website. It was difficult to understand what it was, because we kept calling it a request for proposal, and there was a button for request for proposal on our page that was empty, and then there was another button that was, no, it said Creative Capital Sponsorship, and that's where it was.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to navigate.
Yeah, so that'll be fixed.
Yes. One of the suggestions from Emily was that the form be an autofill type of a form where it could be filled in online. We can't do that just now. The city is actually working on a project where all city forms will be on autofill, so ours is on that list. It will be completed, but not in a couple weeks.
Are we allowed to tap into like a Google form or something, or is that a city? Nope, okay. Thought so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it a Word doc then that they can fill in and send back?
Yeah, print it out and
Versus
send.
a
I think it
PDF.
is, isn't it? I think it's Word or something.
Yeah, we can make it a Word document that they can download and fill out and
Yeah.
email in.
That's what it was in the past. Or, yeah, it's a downloadable, it's downloadable, just not autofill.
Right,
Yeah. Yep. Any other input? And so we want to do this for, what did we say our date was? September 1st, or I can't remember. We even have a timeline out here. How about that? I think we're close to September 1st. So if you have comments that you want to forward, could you please get them to me by, let's say, August 25th, just as a random date, which will give us a few days to work on the actual document.
It will become public September 1st?
Right about September 1st. I can't remember the day that we actually selected. I think it was, we talked about it because Labor Day is, I think, what, the 2nd or the 3rd? And I think we were talking about it, I can't remember what we landed on, or maybe we didn't. We didn't? Oh, should we? Yeah, that week.
When are applications due?
They will be due,
In November, looks like.
there's going to be, yeah, it'll be, we'll determine the dates before the, we'll have actual dates on here before the application goes live. But it'll be in November. In order for us to have them in hand and get them out to the selection committee so that they're able to review them before the meeting and take a look at the rubric. We are also giving, something else that's new, we're giving the artists the option to come in and visit with the selection committee regarding their project. See, that would have been real helpful to us last time, that we would have been able to maybe understand some of the project a little bit better and would have maybe made a different determination.
So Deb, when the email goes out notifying, I'm assuming it'll get sent out to that list that we've also
Yes.
collected in the city.
Yes.
Are we, as a commission, on that list? If not, we should.
I remember getting
And
it last time,
I don't remember getting it last time, but did we?
because I tried to find it when I clicked the link.
Okay,
That's why I knew it
okay.
was hard to find.
Yeah, I
We
think
did
I,
get
I
it.
Individuals should
think
get
I
it,
sent it out.
Okay.
Yeah, as
as
an
members of the committee,
Yep.
Yep.
a commission.
Yep.
Yeah, the link.
So I would just encourage all of us to do something on Facebook, on our personal Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Just to help get the word out.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's something in that email that would be easy enough to just pull over to Facebook, or
I think, yeah, because there's
if we
a,
could get an image of some sorts or something that would,
I think I did that last time. I think when you got the link, you got an image that,
Okay.
you know, when you did a link on Facebook. And we are, because we are a little bit hamstrung just a tiny bit on social media in terms of what we can do as a commission. Whatever we do personally, I think is great. So if you can forward it with email, Facebook, you know, whatever works, just to get it out and so that it can get passed around a little bit. And as long as it goes back to the website and it's a little bit easier to navigate and understand what it is they're looking at, I think we're probably in pretty good shape, hopefully. Yeah.
And then, Chair, we'll also use, I think we did this last time, but we'll do it again, and maybe a little bit more robust, using the City of Fargo's Facebook page, the Arts and Culture Commission's Twitter account, if
Yeah.
we're still using that.
Yep.
And, you know, those kinds of things, but in a press release, all that type of stuff. But in answer to Arlette's question, that would also be the clue. We'll have a little bit more give this time than we did last time in terms of then that link on to helping it go
Yeah.
broader.
And that was my question too, is can we use a clickable link?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll send that to all of us.
Yes. And also, if you have email addresses for people that you feel should get this, you know, by all means, send them. But also, if you could turn around and share those email addresses with staff so that they can be added onto our list, that would be amazing. One of our biggest challenges in this is building a list to mail out to. That has been a real difficult thing to build that list. So, yeah.
To you or to
can.
Megan?
Me or Megan? Your call, Megan. Okay.
Yeah, you can send them to me. And one more quick note that
Yeah.
Arlette will talk a little bit about the survey, but we did receive a number of interested folks who did give their email addresses from the results of the survey. So we've added a number of, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but emails in that regard as well.
Nicole had mentioned this press release is an important part that could generate some media interest that also then creates the shareable articles or links or whatever for us to use. And then I think one thing is to be ready with some of the examples we've already completed, like the bike racks,
Oh, yeah.
the utility boxes, so that that becomes this example that people can look to and say, oh, that's what they're talking about, or that's what they're looking for. And then perhaps we could work with the school district and the park district directly on this and say, see if they have ideas so that we get, some parties that are maybe ready to do something, that are getting in the loop on this so they can be engaged.
Okay.
This is the marketing background that I've picked up from being in business, but it seems like the first thing that we should really try to get people to is that question and answer session. Public art is you know, I'm thinking about the response that TAP got versus what we got. Public art is a little bit scary to people. I mean, they don't understand it necessarily. They don't know how their work translates to public art. And I would hope that in this question and answer session, that we will help them translate that. So it's not just question and answer, but it's also giving them some information. So trying to get them to that session first is really the first step in trying to build the core group that will eventually, and whether it's this time or not, eventually be able to submit a proposal. So I would encourage you to use that information session really as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Is that a required session?
No.
Can we make it
Right now, it
required?
says invited, it should say
Yeah.
required.
And it
Required.
says only first-time applicants. I would suggest open it up to anybody who's interested.
TAP requires you to
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
I don't think we felt like we needed to put a requirement on it, but, opening it up to everybody I think would be totally good.
Pick off the first-time applicant and just
Yeah.
say, open to everybody.
Yeah,
Come and learn.
Right, so if we've only had 4 applicants, though, a lot of them will be first-time applicants.
yeah,
I think the utility box one is a little different though, because that one is, I want to say easy, but it's easier
it
because.
is easier, yes.
You know,
It's a
you
tighter
have a piece of
scope.
art you've already created or will create and it's in
Yeah.
image form and
Yes.
hit submit and you're done, whereas the public art is a little bit,
It's,
because it includes performance, it includes visual, it could be anything.
and we're not telling him to put something on a box, we're telling him, hey, what do you want to do for art?
There's not, again, there's not a million examples out
Yeah,
there.
and we're not, we don't want to suggest that people put hours and hours and hours into a proposal either. We're trying to make it so they understand what we're talking about, but at the same time, they're not putting too much into it. So we don't,
Do you feel like a good compromise maybe would be the word recommended in parentheses?
Yeah.
Help them
It's
out?
recommended to attend.
yeah.
And then I would be willing to forward this to the Fargo Public Schools art
Yeah.
specialist, so she can send it on to the middle and, I don't know, is there an age limit on here?
No,
Is that something we should consider?
I want to say no.
Okay, then I would send it and probably have her share it with the middle school and,
But I want to say no. What does everybody else want? Any thoughts?
I think that should be just decided by the selection committee. If
Sure.
If a young person has thought through the project really well,
Yeah.
why not?
Why not?
and maybe we want to put that in the proposal to no age limit, just because there could be some really talented 6-year-olds or 5-year-olds or something.
Okay. Just as a aside, TAP for the utility boxes, they did have, they required the applicants to be at least 18. One of the things we'll probably have to look at maybe is, I don't know, is there something with having guardians sign off on it or
Yeah,
something?
under 18.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of federal rules that start coming in when we start asking for age and
Okay,
things like that, so we.
let's take a look at it. Can we just take a look at it before we say for sure? I mean, if it's going to be too onerous, maybe we want to.
Well, we're paying, also there's W-9s involved and all sorts of, kind of business components, so.
Yeah.
And then we have federal regulations related to fair and equity, and so when we start listing things, we just need to be careful.
Yeah,
That's all.
okay, all right. Because I know that on the TAP things, there were two sisters, and the guardians signed off on both of them. They weren't selected, but it wasn't because of their age, it turned out, because we decided that if it was really good, or appropriate, but it wasn't quite, it was just, yeah,
I can see it getting really messy
yeah.
with them not being an adult and intellectual property and their guardians speaking for them.
Can we put it, yeah,
I'm thinking, dance performances.
yeah,
Can have younger people involved. With the public art possibilities in the master plan, there was an individual that had a proposal or had an idea of structures in the park that have been designed by children. So the involvement of children, not necessarily, but there probably needs to be some kind of coordinating adult.
Yeah, so
the
maybe,
picture.
you know, if you have something that's like a class project or something on that line, maybe. Because I'm pretty sure Dylan here, I'm guessing she wasn't 18. We just performed here today.
Yeah.
You know? So can we kind of put that on for the executive order or executive agenda? So we can kind of touch on that and see what we can do. We can figure that out.
And then do we need some kind of statement open to all, just on diversity and abilities and that kind of thing from the,
Yeah.
do we have something like that in here?
General statement, disclaimer.
Well, we have in here, artists of all disciplines and skill levels are encouraged to apply.
I think
I
it
don't-
has more to do with, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, so we have some federal language we need to put on there about equal opportunity.
That's, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Non-discriminatory, yeah.
Okay. You guys are really, you're doing good.
Came with our brains today.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for looking at this beforehand. Anything else before we move on? I think what I'd like to do then is get some of this stuff done and get it out to you guys, and then anything else you have, if you could get it back by the 25th. I wanted to vote on this today. I don't know if we can.
I'll make a motion, Deb.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the application form with the addition of a vision or purpose statement that is consistent with other documents, and there was a
Equal opportunity.
equal opportunity, non-discriminatory statement, and there
No
was,
age limit.
no, there was one other thing.
Digital access.
I'm sorry?
Digital access. Digital access.
Digital access. Oh, my gosh.
Well, if somebody took notes on what we just talked
Oh,
about, we can just say
and-
with edits discussed. Would that be
And
easy?
a measure, some kind of outcome measure on the application. So those 4 items. Does that make sense? Or do you want to see it again?
I like the one that just says with notes, discussion notes
Okay,
included, because I think there's more than 4.
okay,
So you want to strike,
There will be other edits.
yeah.
okay.
Can we
so-
do a group, an email approval of, no, okay, never mind.
yeah.
Some commissions have that.
So that we don't delay the process at all. I would
Right.
move that we go forward with this application form and process with the changes as noted in the discussion notes.
Thank you. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, comments?
Well, I think maybe edits that come between now and the 25th are probably going to be more in the
Yeah.
grammatical fashion and not necessarily,
Yeah.
here's a whole new
Yeah.
idea. So
Yeah.
let's just maybe let's just say that we're not going to make any additional structural changes to this application outside of the edits that were already included
Okay. So,
after this vote.
That can be an addendum to the motion.
okay. All right.
And then would we get a copy to, like a final copy to review before the 25th? So we can look at it, or we just trust that you'll,
With this motion,
I think we're
we'll
just
just
we're
go
gonna roll
forward
with
with
it.
it.
Okay.
Yep. But send us a copy so we have it.
Yeah, I'll say, well, sure, so you have it, yeah. And as I said, we are probably going to do this, probably likely every time we're gearing up for a grant cycle. So this, not like this is written in stone, just for
I
this
would,
time.
I would suggest too, when we get done with this application and we see what comes in because of that application, that we make those edits right away,
Yeah, okay.
right
Yeah,
after
while
that
it's fresh.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so as the motion was stated, do I have those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yay! I was so bothered by this.
As a
Yes.
comment, we did take pretty thorough notes as you were talking, and real quickly, looking for accountability, how to measure success, selection criteria, including a rubric, downloadable. And then there was a lot of discussion on, kind of communication, how we're networking this out. But the non-discriminatory lens and sorry? Age, yeah, so.
And mission
so-
statement.
Mission statement, of
Yep.
course, and then the beginning things that we talked about.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Okay. Arlette is going to talk to us about the public art survey results. If you remember, Arlette has been working along with Megan, Folkways, gathering information from the citizens of Fargo regarding their desires for public art.
And this actually relates to the capital project that we have funding for. So
Yes.
this relates to the 85,000 that was allocated a couple years ago for some kind of structure. So as we met with Folkways, just to get a sense of the public, okay, let me back up just a little bit. The CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, had also approached us with some interest in participating in some kind of public art project. So they have some dollars that they've allocated tentatively in their budget for a public art project, thinking that all of this could roll together and we could really do something pretty cool. So with that comes, and also from our perspective, it's wonderful to get a lot of as much public engagement as we can. So that's where this survey came from, was how do we start to engage the public more broadly in all of this? So Folkways helped us develop a survey, and I think all of you probably, hopefully, participated. And neither Joe nor Simone were available today to actually report on it, so we wanted to share this with the group as soon as possible. So anyway, that's why I'm sitting here talking about it, when in actuality, I'm not going to be able to know the underlying data very well, but at least we'll get the information to you. So Megan is actually pushing the button. Okay, so the first slide just shows the participants. There were 453 that responded, which was really good. We were hoping for right around that. I think we were shooting for 500, so we're not too far from that. As you can see, the age breakout, a lot of the individuals that responded were actually the younger professional the younger age group, 18 to 35. There were significant number, though, from 36 to 60. And you can see the average age in Fargo is 30. The other thing that we were trying to collect information on was, so where do the respondents live? And you can see a majority live in the core, being 58102, and a large portion of 58103 is in kind of what I would call the core, which it goes all the way down to 32nd Avenue now, but it includes most of the core. And then there were some from other areas as well. Lived at the current zip code. 45% actually were 0 to 4 years, so fairly new residents in that zip code. That doesn't mean they were a new resident in Fargo, but a new resident within that zip code. However, you can see there, 15% had been in their residence for over 20 years. And that's probably indicative, again, of the core. We've got some older homes, probably with people that have been living there for quite a while. Ethnicity, no surprise, and it basically does reflect, at least overall. Now, when you break it down into the various different ethnic groups, it may not be totally accurate, but if you add them all up, it's pretty indicative and reflective of what the community is. So the question was asked, which of the themes respond or appeals to you? And This is where the photos, I think, started. So people were responding not only to the theme, but also probably to the photo that was attached to that theme. Cultural diversity, you can see, is real high. And, that's been an issue that this community has been having lots of discussion, public discussion about. So that's not surprising. City on the Plains, which had more of an ag kind of feel to it, you can see was the last on the list. Now, the things on the right-hand side there on the screen are write-in comments. So you can see Native American ethnic kind of issues came through on a number of the comments from some of these slides. So there were some common comments that came through as well. Which type of public art have you enjoyed? So this is asking for people's experiences. Murals were way up there, and it's probably because that tends to be pretty noticeable, and there are a few of them in town. And then it goes on down. Where are people experiencing? And again, central, downtown, more of the core, which is probably where a large portion of the actual public art that exists right now is located. So nothing of surprise there. However, the comment on the side is really interesting, and whoever wrote that is quite introspective and thinks a lot about this. And this person is entirely right. Our culture is everything we interact with. So, even our plain Jane kind of approach to infrastructure building or even our buildings reflects our culture. But I guess, what we're talking about is trying to introduce probably a different kind of aesthetic. So, all right. Which type of public art installations would you like to see? Again, murals were high. However, the responses to this particular question, and let me also point out, interactive and public space also is something that is brought forward in some of the other responses too. But it's interesting to look at this one, and then the next one, I believe. Yeah, which material types and textures. Light was way up on top. And if we go back again, Megan, light was way down towards the bottom. So it's interesting. I think maybe people were responding somewhat to some of the photos, but it also probably was a question that was asked in a slightly different manner. Go forward again, Megan. Oops. Which material types and textures is a little bit different question than what kind of public art. So light, water, natural wood, you can see all the way down, but those four in paint were the top ones. And then a priority, accessible to all. Icon for the region was number 2. Interactive was number 3. That seems to come in a few of these responses. So that's something that we're going to have to keep in mind as we move forward. And then where would you like to see more public art? And, we've talked about trying to spread the public art out through the city, which is by all means a goal, and it should be. But it's interesting how people look to the central core to contain more of it than other areas of the city. So, where would you like to see more public art? There were some themes. Green spaces, parks, playgrounds came across very, very clearly. Suggested sites, you can see parks, and most mentioned locations, parks, river trails, Island Park, Lindenwood Park. So the parks were an important part of what people saw as possible sites or locations. So that's something that we'll keep in mind as we move forward with this project as well. The other thing that was interesting to me, respondents want to see art on their commute by car. There have been some, or has been at least one project that was, when Deb and I, when we embarked on this process, we sat down and talked with a number of stakeholders in the community, and there's one particular project that is, keeps coming back to me, and that is a light project in tunnels, what am I saying, pedestrian tunnels, car tunnels, any place where there's a dark kind of foreboding space right now. So, something like that, or murals in those tunnels, or, we'll think about that as we go through the project. Yeah, so that's a little bit more specific information about responses. And, yeah, again, coming back to parks, scored pretty high, river trails, downtown area. Okay. And again, then there was another section that allowed people to make comments, and Folkways kind of brought them together in themes. Positivity, diversity, native perspectives came through in the comments. Play, bring color and light to the mundane. And another one was education for local artists. So the survey was really helpful. And perhaps if I can just report a little bit on the last meeting that we had when we got this, the results from the survey. We found out actually about another project that was happening. The Rotary Foundation, there's like 5 or 6 Rotary clubs in town, and their foundation is looking at doing what they're calling a natural park, which would be for children. And it's a natural playground, actually. It's not a park necessarily, it's more of a playground, but made out of natural components. None of these plastic kind of playground equipment things. And so we've invited the individuals that are kind of leading that effort to a meeting next week to just find out a little bit more about that, to see if there's some possibility of doing something in conjunction with them. So we're still kind of doing the discovery process. And Deb, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I just wanted to add that we're also looking at pulling in the parks at this point,
I'm sorry, Deb?
Pulling in the parks.
Yes.
Yes, because it seems like play, natural, all that seems to be huge in the responses, and so we're going to talk to the parks and see about where, because that's what this is going. And I also wanted to say that this park, the Rotary is proposing and is making money for, is a year-round park. So the thing I remember hearing was trails that are ice. So ice skating trails, paths, ice skating paths. So it's a year-round thing. So, I mean, celebrating water even in its frozen form, which we have a lot of. I just wanted to add that. But so it's moving forward.
Back to the issue about parks, that truly is more of a broad issue for the commission to think about, is how do we begin to try to influence park development and incorporating some of these concepts into the parks that are getting developed, the new ones. That goes beyond this capital project that we're talking about here, but the results from the survey definitely are broader than just the capital project.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you.
I'm wondering if this survey would be good to share with those that might be applying for this public art. Because it would give them some focus as to what the public is looking for.
I don't know why it would hurt.
At that information session, probably.
Yeah, there you go.
Same comment in my notes.
Yeah,
Share the survey information not only with the artists, but with the adjudicators.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the result would be that person may or may not be chosen for this specific project, but may roll into, because this is a separate thing than this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is one application process, and this was for the 85,000 with the CVB. They're two separate projects, correct? Okay, I just want to make sure.
But I think the results from this can help
Oh, sure.
us in developing plans for the future.
Right,
This is the public voice.
yeah.
Yep.
I just want to make sure in my mind, I'm separating them though. So,
Good.
Will the survey be published on our website? You know, the results?
Why not?
Yeah, and I think, could we also publish the comments? And maybe, there was one bad word, I remember, but we could maybe like make that one stars, asterisks, and you guys can just guess what it was.
or just do the sick thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
know that word was there.
Is it possible to do that?
Yeah, I would want to maybe work with Joe and Simone to dress it up a little bit before
Yeah.
it goes
Okay.
on the website.
Yeah,
It's pretty plain.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, okay. Good idea, yes.
Because, you know, once this is ready, you know, to be published, perhaps there's a press release for this too. That could be shared so that it also starts to draw public interest right away for more ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be people that haven't had the opportunity to do the survey that might be interested in seeing the results and getting involved somehow.
I know, I was dying to see, so, that was it, yeah. Yes. Okay, anything else? Okay. We got a really meaty agenda today, it seems like. Okay, so, next, we're gonna address, or talk about the work plan. So this is the point where each of you get to report on your subcommittee work. And I think what we'll do is we'll just start on the end and just work our way down. And I want to remind everybody, I know we had a bit of a kerfluffle about this, but this is more than just time to report. This is also time, if you're stuck, that you need to say, I'm stuck, and then see what help we can get. We may not be able to have the entire discussion today, but we can maybe figure out a subcommittee meeting or something so we can help you get unstuck. Okay, so start with Arlette.
Sure. Denise and I are on the evaluation subcommittee, so I'll start and just introduce some things, and then Denise will report a little bit. So in trying to get a handle on the evaluation piece, we decided to go back to Jack Becker and just have a conversation with him. And we had that just at noon today, so this is all new stuff. And what he suggested to us, which makes lots of sense, is to go back, look at what it was that drove us to, or this community, to put together an Arts and Culture Commission. Why did the community want it? What did they want accomplished? And then from there, why did the Arts and Culture Commission want and move ahead with a master plan? So just to remind people, I went back and looked real quickly at Go 2030. Public art was the number 3 priority in that strategic plan. And within that, the initiatives that were identified were to incorporate public art into the public realm of the city, to develop dedicated public gathering spaces, to promote programming of public spaces with festivals and other cultural events, develop strategies to increase access to and support for art classes and cultural programs, and then finally, establish an arts commission to support integration of art into the public process and to increase aesthetic consideration within the public realm. So, none of this probably identifies exactly the why, but these feed into the why in regards to why we put together a master plan. So, consideration of of all of that history to try to identify. So what were we trying to shoot for when we initially set out to do this? So in identifying that why, then hopefully being able to develop some outcome measures that relate directly to that. So with that, the conversation with Jack.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this too since Deb and Arlette and I met maybe a couple weeks. I don't remember when that was, but I looked at the art plan again, and I thought, you know, there's a year 1 list, there's a year 2 list, a year 3, a year 4, and so how can we take that and evaluate not only are we doing what's on the plan, but then when we have events or art placed, how do we evaluate the effectiveness of that? So it's kind of twofold, and what Jack and Arlette and I talked about, there's 2 things to evaluate, and there's qualitative and quantitative. And if we do some kind of, I guess, a pretest, so to speak, how does the public feel about this space before the art is put in? How do they feel after the art is put in? So we can measure the effectiveness of lack of art versus art in that space. I have a good contact. I was on a panel a couple years ago with a gentleman in Orange County, Florida, who does much what we're doing, and he has been somebody I've kind of communicated with, and he gave me a couple of links on one was a rubric on events that's within a document, and then Americans for the Arts have a measuring tool where you can plug information in and look at the economic impact that art has on a community. Jack talked about how do we learn using the art, so it's not just looking at art, but how do we, like for instance in school they might learn history through art, so how can we do some kind of events like that? We need to look really specifically at our goals and objectives, and that's a little bit of what Arlette went back to look at. What are we trying to achieve, and then measure whatever we're doing to those objectives all the time. It's kind of like taking a strategic plan and saying, are we doing what's in the strategic plan? So I think if I could compile the things out of the master plan and then come up with a tool to evaluate the art that we have placed or events that we have involving art, I think we'd have a good start to figuring out how to evaluate.
Great. Thank you. Sounds like you guys really got it going on.
Thanks. Just for a half hour today.
John?
We met several weeks ago about tourism.
You and Denise Kolpak.
Met with you.
Yes, yes, yep.
And we decided that we would just start talking about this with outsiders.
Yep.
People that will be players eventually in this. I've also talked with Tanya from the Arts Partnership about particularly the studio crawl. I have one thing from the master plan. It wasn't actually in the plan, it was just a comment from somebody. Imagine a week or weekend in which every music venue hosted local musicians, every gallery hosted a local artist, every theater had a production with local talent, and every restaurant and small business put their best foot forward to celebrate the arts and our own distinct culture. Such an event could be an incredible regional draw for tourism. It would give locals something to celebrate and have fun with, and returning alums can see the vibrant community they're missing out on. That was the direction we're going to pursue, try and put all our eggs in one basket, have one big weekend.
That, yeah, coordinates with the art crawl, yep. I'll be there.
Tanya's information that she had, the Studio Chorale is the #1 income generator for the community by a factor of 2.
Art event or any event?
Art events.
Okay,
Of the 60 that they surveyed for the arts and Americans and the arts.
Americans for the Arts.
okay. Okay,
That's the tool I was talking about too, it's that where you just plug information in.
So, John, will you plan to pull in the CVB?
Yes,
into the discussions? Yeah, that would be good. Andy Thorson is on this.
particularly
capital-
Andy, yeah.
Yep. She's on this capital project with us, and they're very enthused about trying to develop art tourism. So, yeah, it'd be a good one.
Charlie's been a big supporter.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
What month is the art crawl in?
It's always the first weekend of October. So school is in session. It sometimes lines up with homecoming for NDSU.
It'd be, we've talked about Porch, what is it? What was
Porch
it?
Fest?
Porch Fest, add that to it too.
Yeah.
Just have one big
It's,
party.
it's much easier to piggyback events together than to try and market your own event.
Yeah, I think one of the things to do to make this kind of thing happen is to loop in a producer, an event producer who might be interested in putting something together that can dovetail. Yeah, I think we talked about that too. Yeah. Any other?
So, can you, John, which committee are you?
Tourism.
Tourism. Okay, thank you. Mark?
So Tracy Jordery and I are working on the engage with developers. So we've had 2 meetings actually, but not since probably the early part of July, I want to say. She was going to tackle the Park District and talk to them.
Yeah.
And then I've had some limited conversations on the private development side. So I think our initial thoughts are that the public side of things, such as the Park District and the school district and the city and other public facilities are easier to work with than the private side. So I think that'll be an area where the public side of things will have more chance for success with, and we'll keep attempting to see how we can get into the private side. You know, most of the concerns around that are long-term maintenance and, you know, placement and, you know, the nice thing about public lands is that they typically don't get sold, you know, bought and sold, and
Right.
and so there's usually maintenance staffing and maintenance plans that are a little bit more consistent. So that's kind of the information we've pulled together so far.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could ask a question?
Yeah.
So Mark, the discussions you're having with the Park District, has that started or?
Tracy was gonna tackle that, and with her not being here, I didn't talk to her before the meeting, so I'm not sure where.
I want to connect, I'll connect with
Yeah.
her in regards to this capital project.
Yep.
Because this might be a good way to start it.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the things that, well, I've attended or sat with each of you as you've begun this process. So I'm the one person who's been to all of them, and I can see the connections here. I mean, this is why I want to do it at these meetings, is because there's so many connections that all of you are going to make and have opportunities to work together, you know, and that's one of them. But that's going to happen over and over and over again. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this, especially with, all of it, it's going to be really cool. Yep. With the developers, I guess one of the things I'm wondering is, what would it take for them to invest in art? I'm just wondering what it would take.
We'll have to find out.
Okay.
There's, as we've talked through it, there's just a lot more
Yeah,
challenges with making it accessible. You know, if you have public art, it has to be accessible to the public. So then is it, if it's something inside, then it's automatically not always accessible.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
so then is it outside, and then what is it, and where is it
Yeah.
at, and how do you set aside
Yeah,
space for that and
yeah.
plan for it, and
Yeah, because I know there are those that have done it, and there are those that have never thought of it. I'm just wondering what it would take for them to even think about it, you know, other than to think no. You know, what would it take for them to think, maybe, can make that work?
And then, Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
just since it's come up a couple times, with the Park District, I might have mentioned this to Tracy, I can't remember. We connect with the Park District probably weekly on a myriad of things. And so it can, depending if we're talking, just, you know, kind of a little governance question, if we're talking, you know, elected member to Arts Commission, or if we're talking to the staff level. At the staff level, I would prefer to work through staff.
Okay.
Just because there's a lot of things could get confusing quickly. And so we just want to, we'd be glad to help set up any meetings or, however you want to approach that. By all means, we don't want to stifle your creativity, but at the same time, we want to understand that relationship. We work tirelessly on our relationship with the Park District and the school district, and so we just want to have that at the staff level with commissioners as appropriate or as you see appropriate.
So as we're contacting these people and setting up meetings, will it work if we just loop you in so that you know that these
It
conversations are
depends. If you're at a
happening?
staff level, I'd prefer to work through the city staff. If you're talking to elected officials like park board members
Okay.
or school board members,
Okay.
feel free to connect with them directly.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. Joel?
So I've been working on the communications plan. I've had a number of conversations. One was with John earlier this week, actually. Another was with the Native American Commission, because they're also working on a social media plan as well. So I'm starting to kind of assemble a framework of what we would need to do to have a social media platform for the commission. And it's kind of broken down into very simple categories. One, the social media would promote, of course, public arts in the FM area, city-owned art, so the work that's in collections, artists in the area, we would showcase different artists, the businesses that make up the art community, and then the events that are going on. And not necessarily, things that are directly tied to this commission, but tying into what's going on in the community and promoting those. That being the case, then we would start setting up rules at the beginning, and getting in front of potential issues that would pop up. So, if we were to have a social media, different accounts, we would maybe, as a suggestion, is make rules like we don't approach. Sorry, I'm reading my notes here. We don't engage in politically motivated posts. We avoid those things. Obviously, artists are very politically motivated individuals, and it's reflected in their art. So we would need to discuss and figure out how to showcase their work based on the merits of their work, and not so much on the messages that they're trying to get out there. It'd be the same rules as how we would approach public art in the first place. I know that's discussed. I think in the bylaws and the rules of the commission. That was something I remember reading early on. So we would apply those same rules to social media posts. There would, as far as I can see at the onset, there would be 4 platforms that we would engage on. And each platform has different meanings behind them. Say like Facebook, for instance. It's a great tool for connecting local businesses and artists and events to our website. It's the most versatile option when trying to share information within the FM community. Instagram is basically images, so we would maybe have posts of the week or of the day of maybe what's in our collections or public art. Twitter for sharing news and links. So like with the call for artists that we're going to be setting up here, there'd be a quick link in that. If someone's going across their feed, they see that, they can click, and they go right to our website. And then, of course, the website, the city website or the commission website. So yeah, those would be the 4 platforms. Recommendations would be to identify an individual to maintain these accounts on a daily basis. I would recommend finding a young college person, maybe with a marketing background, that would be able to, one, understand social media, again, more than myself, or someone that's in the front of the game right now. And of course, with this, we would have to have a chain of responsibility. So there'd be a commission member that would observe this individual that's posting on social media, and of course, the commission member then would have to answer to the chair on the commission, and just making sure that we're as responsible as possible. I think as we had talked about, any commission member, if they see something that's been posted that they would view as inappropriate, have the ability to remove that as soon as possible, and then have a discussion, of course, with individuals on that commission if they need to regarding that post. So I think it requires, all this requires more conversations and putting together rules and whatnot for this, but yeah.
I think you and I have to have a meeting.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Additions?
Finding that person's always the key.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Great ideas, but
yes.
the execution piece is where I get
Execution,
stuck.
yeah.
Well, we have three universities in the area full of talented and capable interns.
So would we pay that person to do Facebook, or would that be volunteer?
That would be up to.
I guess we're gonna, yeah, that's kind of all the stuff we're gonna have to talk about. Yeah, yeah. Because I have some, we have to talk. So, Tracy.
Right.
Tracy's the money girl.
The arguably sexiest
Yeah,
finance committee.
yeah.
So, kind of at the point where I'm just getting my head wrapped around just kind of the whole bubble. And Nicole sent a nice document that, talks about the three-legged stool, right? The public funding, the private funding, and then the foundation work. And we've done a little bit, or the city's done a little bit with some grants and specific projects to specific grants, is how I understood it. And I see that our budget is $150,000 annually, so I'm assuming that's all public money. But I'm noting in here, so I just, before I go on with my notes and my ideas, have an understanding of where we want to go financially, right? That's going to be part of our framework. So in the master plan, right, ideally, it says Fargo's public art program would start the year 2019 with $350,000 and commence the search for hiring a program director who would in turn hire a project manager. And then, so a 5-year strategy starting at $150,000, going to 300, 450, 500, and 620. So I'm wondering if we haven't progressed because we don't have more funding mechanisms, or if we haven't progressed because we don't have the projects. Because sometimes it's like if you ask, they go, what's it going to be for? And you go, I don't know.
I think it's the second. I think we haven't progressed much because we haven't had the projects. One of the things that, that makes the funding so difficult is that without having projects, it's pretty hard to.
Hard to ask.
Yeah, it's hard to ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that might be part of our funding mechanism is growing into projects, and this is part of the, right, the asking for public projects and things like that. So that's a piece I haven't wrapped my head around yet, but I am wrapping my head around the intake part. And I've visited with a couple of folks who have been involved in the inspiration and the institution of the Arts and Culture Commission, and got some really good notes, kind of back to the beginning. One of the funding mechanisms that we could engage in from the state was suggested the North Dakota Humanities Council, and asking them to establish a fund, which I think is a fascinating idea. So I'm willing to, look into that or whatever. And that's it too, is what's my role versus, what's the city role. So I'm just throwing out ideas at this point.
There's also the North Dakota Council of the Arts that might be.
Yeah. Yeah. So just kind of tapping into those and seeing what's available. Maybe there's stuff waiting there just for somebody to ask for it. That is oftentimes the case. So, and then there was actually some suggestions of some local business people and or companies that might be very interested in being sponsors, benefactors, not necessarily developer-driven or project-driven, but more concept-driven. And I'd like to explore those, but I'd like to, again, connect with the city and maybe sit in on an executive meeting and develop a strategy around that, because it was people that had approached when it was being developed, and just see if the interest is still there. So I guess developing that grant or state funding leg and then the private funding leg is interesting to me. So I think that would help the public then to be more comfortable investing or, reinvesting in our process.
Yeah.
Again, you said what's going to make a developer try and start to incorporate it. I think examples of what we've done. To your point, we got to keep surfacing up when we've done something that's been successful and bring it, back in front of them again and say, this is one example. We have, we can do just about anything. So that whole measuring our success piece, I think, is incredibly important in this ask, so. So that's what I have. I would like to either sit in an executive meeting or,
Yes, we need to meet.
okay, I'll let you guys take
Yeah.
it from there. Just let me know when and where to be,
Yeah.
so.
Tracy, if I could just say something, when we were in Minneapolis, I can't remember what we were there for, the conference. I'm not remembering her name, the individual that heads up the North Dakota Council on Arts.
Kim,
Kim, she's very interested in what we're doing, so that would be a good connection to make.
Okay.
yeah. Our governor is also interested in a 1% program, so. You guys, I really apologize, we're going late and we're not done yet. So, but I think we really need to hear about the budget. Nicole, were you going to present on the 2020 budget?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I should have brought that forward, or maybe I have it in here, sorry.
It's good
Yeah.
news.
So, real quick, you have in your pamphlet there, but the mayor, September 9th is the public hearing for the budget, and for the 2020 budget. The city commission did listen to the mayor's presentation with the proposed budget, and so right now, all of the city commissioners are taking a deeper dive with the budget as proposed. It is available online. In terms of the city planning department asks, I might have mentioned this previously, I can't remember, but we did ask for one additional staff person, and that staff person would be probably 50% grant funded through housing and urban development dollars, and the other 50% with taking a portion of all of the boards and commission budgets and thinking of an administrative fee, or kind of an administrative 10% as administration to help support the budgets, or to help support the individual commissions per se. So looking at a 5 to 10% of the arts and culture budget, that would help go towards more staffing. And that exact number, we would need to kind of work out more details. In terms of capital costs, we looked at more specific projects as it relates to Main Avenue and, I'm forgetting one. Oh, and curating inside public buildings. And so we asked for $30,000 each for those two items. And at this point, they're still in the budget. And so, so basically everything is the same in terms of organizationally. We did ask for a staff person that does look like it's getting supported. I should note that like over 40 positions were asked for at the city. Ours is one of 4 or 5 that are being supported. And so I think that goes to making the case for how to support that with existing dollars as opposed to increasing costs. And so I'm pretty excited about that component. Yeah, so that's a quick summary of the budget. The public hearing is next September 9th. I would encourage anybody and anyone to be present if they like. It is a public hearing. We will probably get a myriad of commentary because for the first time in about 9 years, the mayor's looking at increasing the mills, and so that's projecting quite a bit of discussion we expect. And we're not alone across the country or across the state. And also, the mayor explains that you'll see the front slides if you go online, and if you have trouble finding that link, just let us know. But it'll kind of explain the story of how property values rise and over the years, and how we've actually been reducing mills. And Mayor is much more eloquent than I am about that detail. But it is, I will just say one particular fund, the Arts and Social Service Funds, is a line item that kind of stands out with a pretty big highlight on it. So that sometimes does engage some discussion at the city commission level, because part of that money also goes to social service funds, and part of that money goes to arts. So it's its own line item, and it's a standalone. So you don't see it. You don't see arts sitting under the planning department. You see it sitting under its own fund, Arts and Social Service Funds, with that nice title.
Okay, so to that, I was at the mayor's presentation where he presented the budget to the city commission. The part of the fund that Nicole's referring to, the majority of that money that has come to the Arts and Culture Commission, we have traditionally turned over to the Arts Partnership for the REAP granting program. That fund is being specifically targeted by Commissioner Gehrig. Rather than have the 2 mil increase, he would like to see that line go away, in addition to the COLA for the firefighters, and correct me if I'm wrong, the police and the bus drivers. That would be 2 mils, and so then there wouldn't be an increase in taxes. 1 mil is $6 per taxpayer. His suggestion was that each citizen maybe would want to just contribute, rather than be taxed, would maybe just want to contribute to the arts. I'll leave that there. So, please consider attending the meeting. I am not sure that we don't have support for our program. I'm pretty confident that we do have support for the work that we're doing. I will be reaching out to Dana to maybe have her, let the grantees know that Commissioner Gehrig has once again put forth the idea of doing away with those funds for arts.
Is it appropriate, because I'm one of those, is it appropriate to have those groups send letters to the commission, or what's the protocol for that, Nicole?
I think it's really your call, your individual call. I think there's a lot of different philosophical approaches, and I do believe we have support from at least 3 city commissioners who are very supportive of public art and would like to see the program exist. So,
I'm not going to say no to letters of support. I think if somebody wants to send a letter of support, that would be great. I don't want to say no to that.
I just didn't know if there's any restrictions on what you could do, so I think that advocacy would be really good for the TAP grantees to know about.
Yeah, they did, a couple of years ago, they did a letter writing campaign.
Deb, are you prepared to make a comment?
Not at this moment, but I will be on
Yeah,
September
I think
9th.
that would
Yeah.
be wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
As this board.
Yeah, we understand, I feel like I understand what his thought is, and I feel like I can counter that, but no, I will be ready, for sure, yeah.
Nicole,
And
you
all of you
said,
guys come.
Nicole, you said you could send us a link, is that to the like a presentation on the budget?
yeah, actually, if you go to the city website right now, City of Fargo, or fargond.gov, the main rotating image on there is the budget presentation
Oh, okay,
and the budget and the link to the budget. But if you have trouble finding it, just let us know.
okay.
Okay.
So
2019, I don't know if is there any more discussion on the 2020 budget?
Just one more question. So the curating in the main avenue, and I'm sorry, I can't see you, Nicole. So I'm going to look here. That is inside the planning department budget?
No, that's actually in its own capital fund, just like the other
The 85,000?
85,000.
Okay, gotcha.
I'd like to extend my thanks to Nicole and staff for the hard work that they did on the budget, because this year that shows a pretty significant increase in our budget, assuming that all goes through. I mean, the fact of getting another staff person, plus getting 2 art projects on the books, plus our existing budget, I think that's really good work. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And I safely liaison, Commissioner Strand was here. He was very much an advocate, so.
Well, he should be. Okay, 2019. Who was talking about that? Megan is.
I don't have much to add, but it's
Yeah.
the last page of your packet is just an updated budget. It just shows what has been spent to date. The biggest is probably just the public art projects that were funded for the spring round, so.
Okay. So I'm thinking that we're probably going to have a nice big fat pot of money for the fall art projects, for the fall art grants, so, public art grants. So that's going to be nice. We get
Can
some
I
fun things.
ask what we're doing with the curating? Anything?
We don't have a set plan right now. In terms of existing City Hall, I'd like to talk more further with you guys on some ideas on that.
Okay. All right, maybe we can get it on the agenda next month. Okay? Any other comments on the budget? We haven't spent very much money.
No, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, it is kind of a problem.
Part of the problem.
Yeah, that is a
If you're not
problem.
spending it, we'll take it back.
Yeah, yep. Okay, the last thing is that there is Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit in Cincinnati in October. The city has generously offered for any of us that go, that they will, boy, you better watch my words here, Nicole. Pay half of the expenses. So that would be plane ticket, hotel, meals, and the cost of the conference itself. So I'm going to go. I think Tracy Georgery is going to go. It'd be great if anybody else that was interested wanted to attend. I'm sure Cincinnati will be beautiful in October. I'm excited to go. I've never been to Ohio. So just think about it. If you have any questions about it, just get a hold of me. Yeah, I haven't registered yet, but I'm gonna. I think creative placemaking, I feel like, is the direction that we want to go as a commission, where we're not just buying statues or whatever, but we're actually all about the space that they're going in, and that the space is going to be active and remain active. So I think that'll help us get there. So whoever wants to go. Okay, so any other business or public comments? No public comments.
What are we doing about Roland?
About what?
Roland, one of our,
Oh, I think they were going to get him cleaned up. Yeah, I think he's going to get cleaned up. I thought I read that in the paper, actually.
He either has or it will be soon, is my understanding.
Okay. And the Statue of Liberty is still gone.
Gone?
Gone. Yes.
and where does that budget come from?
For this statue, the city does not own the statue, the park district is the owner, so.
Oh, there we go. Our budget remains intact. That $1,000 for maintenance, still there. Okay, anything else? All right, can I get I guess we don't really need it, but let's have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All opposed? All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much. I'll see you next month.